All right, now we're gonna answer the first part of the exercise for the employee class. And the first part is gonna cover the basic things that we learned so far in this module. So what we have to do in this, and we're gonna go step by step. What we have to do is to create an employee class, and this employee class has some information about the employee, okay? So first, let's start by defining the class name, okay? So it says in the question, the name of the class is employee. So in Python, I have to start with typing the word class. To tell Python I'm writing a class, and the name of the class is gonna be employee. After I do that, I have to have a colon, okay? And then once I hit return, it's gonna make it indented right away, okay? So in this also, it tells you that this class has this information for the employee. So I need to make sure that I include these informations for an employee. And in part 2, it tells you create a default constructor, which is the init function or the init method. So the init method is going to hold all the attributes or all the variables that belongs to the employee class. Okay, let's go ahead and define this method, which is part number 2, and we're going to include in it all the information or all the variables listed over here or highlighted over here. Okay, so I'm going to start first by saying define, and then the init function or the constructor is a special type, so I have to have it starting with underscore underscore double underscore, okay, and then init double score underscore underscore, and then between the parentheses, you see once I put between the parentheses, PyCharm immediately included the self. Why? Because it's inside the class, and each method you define inside the class, it has to start with the self. Okay, so I'm going to keep this one, so it's saving me time, and then I'm going to list the other attributes that I have. The other attributes or the other variables that I have are name, and the other one, it's going to be employee ID, and then we have number 3, which is the department. Number 4 is title, and number 5 is the salary. Okay, and then I have the colon. Okay, now the init function is pretty standardized. Okay, so that being said, these are the variables or the values they're gonna be inserted when I create the object employee. Okay, so over here I'm gonna start to list my attributes or my variables, and these variables have to start with the self word. Okay, self dot, what is the name of the attributes I have? The first one is name. What is it equal to? Equal to name. Why name? Because this name is going to be this name. This name doesn't have anything to do with the variable name that belongs in the class. The name that belongs in the class is actually this guy over here. The one is highlighted, okay? So if I change this one X, for example, I can say here X. It works. But what is going to be the variable name that belongs to the class is name, the one over here. But usually we keep them kind of like match, okay? So I'm going to say name, all right? And then the second thing is going to be the employee ID. I'm going to say self, and look at PyCharm giving it right away to me. So I'm going to say self, employee ID, and this one is going to be equal to employee ID. Third one is going to be self dot department, and this is going to be equal to department. I'm missing the R over here. Okay, and then self dot title. This is going to be equal, sorry, self. This is going to be equal to title. And then I have self dot salary, and this one is going to be equal to salary. Okay, in this part, I'm done right now with my first and second part. I created the init function, which I included all the attributes and all the variables that I have part of this employee class. Okay. Now let's go back to the main and let's finish the rest of the question. The question asks you also to create two different objects from this class. One object is imp1 and the other one is imp2. And for imp1, you have to include these values. And for imp2, these are the values, okay? So let's go ahead and go to our main. Our main says if underscore name underscore equal between quotation marks underscore main underscore, and then do not forget the colon. And here is going to be my main part. My main part, I'm just going to go ahead and create these two objects that question is asking me, imp1. What is going to be? What type is imp1? It's type of employee, which is the class. Okay. What are the values that I have? These values that one listed over here. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste these values over here. You see, I have to have how many variables I have, or how many arguments I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Even though when I initiate the initiate method, I have 5 plus the self. But when we create an object from this class, the self is always ignored. We do not do it. Okay. So I create the first employee. Now I'm going to create the second employee number 2. Okay. It's going to be type of employee, and the values of the variables, it's going to be as listed over here. And in this case, I created two objects. One of them is imp1 and the other one is imp2. Both of them is type of employee. Okay. Let's go ahead and print the contents, what's inside each one of these objects. Okay. If I say print, and between parentheses, and I say imp1, which is employee number 1 dot name, it's going to give me the name of employee number 1, which is, in my example over here, it's going to be Zara. Okay. Let me go ahead and say, okay, print imp1 dot the employee ID. Okay. And let me repeat that again. Say print imp1 dot department. And then let me go ahead and also print imp1 dot title. And the last thing, I'm going to print imp1 dot salary. Okay. Now let me run the program and see how it works. Yes, created the objects, and it did not show me because it did not print them. It shows me only employee number 1 because I start to print each items individually. Okay. And again, I can say, for example, here I can make it nice. I can say the name is imp1, and let me run it just to show you how it looks like. You see, the name is Zara. Okay. So that's for now what we learned about classes. Okay. We're going to build based on this example. We're going to keep adding more methods, and we're going to make this program more complex, but like the parts that we learn, we're going to add to this program. Okay.